All right. Here we go, back again on the other side of the coin.
All right, we are back again on the other side of the coin. The mad week starts, the build up to the Champions League final. Here we go, one more match to go in this season. But before we get to all of that, obviously there's a lot of Chelsea news to talk about. Some madness that's been happening in social media as well that I want to talk to you guys about. Before we get into all of that, first of all, shout out to the live chat. There's quite a few people that's already come in. You guys are really enjoying this segment between myself, Kishan, and Ameya. Lots of love that's been given on this particular show. As I said, this show is now going to be permanent once a week. Generally, it's on a Sunday, 11:30 a.m. But Ameya and Kishan wanted to go away this weekend, so we had to adjust a little bit. So we're here, but this is just a one-off. This won't be the normal time because I'm not waking up at 4 and Ameya's not staying up that late every time. So we will revert back to Sundays for the next week, which will be great because it'll be after the Champions League final. Hopefully we are celebrating. But before we get into all of that, Kishan, my man, how you doing?
Yeah, all good. Like you said, I went away for the weekend. Thank you for rescheduling this. But yeah, like when we return next week, the thing about this show is it's always right after we've done well or really bad. So we have to see what side of on. This week, it's like a bit of both. So it makes an extra interesting show as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely right, man. It's funny. Some people already, thank you so much. Our attackers are useless. It's like there is no holding back, man. People are just getting at it. Muda is saying lateness is greatness, man. That's Matisse's line. That's not my line. I can't steal that. And I was only literally a minute late. Well, I wasn't late. The boys were just a bit late. But anyways, Ameya, my man, how you doing?
Yep, doing good. As Kishan said, it's meant to be an interesting show, this one, and hopefully next time around. And the last time we said it, we'd probably be celebrating was before the FA Cup final, and that, well, turned out great, didn't it? Hopefully this time around, we genuinely do have something to celebrate.
Yeah, man. Now, last time I thought I was going to have a mad party with you guys, and it just turned out to be a bit of a sour show. Anyways, boys, let's get straight into this. Quite a lot of things to talk about. The biggest fish to fry, first of all, is Eden Hazard. Now, I'll start things off and I'll get what you guys have to say. Straight after our match yesterday, we lost against Aston Villa. I mean, the whole fan base was a bit ticked off. I was genuinely ticked off because the way we have sort of ending it, Arsenal loss was poor, FA Cup loss was poor. Yes, we then beat Leicester and sort of put ourselves into a bit of a good position for the top four. But then the way we finished against Aston Villa, we literally had to wait. Well, we celebrated because Tottenham helped us out. Like, that's how insane it was. Tottenham's victory helped us out, even though we lost. So it was not the best way to get this particular top four. Then right after that, the whole news about Eden Hazard just exploded in social media, like quite late in UK time. And apparently it's a quite, good source, apparently from Spain. Fabrizio Romano apparently follows this particular chap. Fabrizio Romano doesn't follow me. So, do you know what I mean? Like this, he only follows if it's legit. So, and the news goes something like, Real Madrid is looking to let go of Eden Hazard, and Eden Hazard wants to come back. Now, here's the thing, boys. I remember the season, it was Sarri's season, okay? When Eden Hazard was talking about leaving Chelsea well before the season even finished, like 6 months before, and he was flirting about the whole factor that he wants to go to Real Madrid. It's been his childhood dream. He's got the idol Zidane there. And he was sort of building it up that he was leaving. He was building up the fan base that this is my last season, so I'm leaving. And then obviously we win the Europa, and then those crazy words right at the end. Yes, it is my last game or something like that, as the reporter asked. And we accepted it. It hurt, man. Honestly, I was close to tears when I saw those, the jerseys being printed out with Hazard's name on the Real Madrid jerseys, and it was getting printed out one after another. And then in the press conference, he had such great talks about Chelsea. It was probably one of the very few press conferences I've seen where a new player comes into the team and he's like talking up his former team as opposed to the new team. And then obviously it hasn't been the greatest couple of seasons for Eden Hazard. Injuries, Hasn't looked at all the same Hazard that's left. And this season they've won Jackal, and now he wants to come back. And my thing is, boys, we need to move on. Like, it's not the same Hazard. Like, in my perspective, this Eden Hazard has been injury prone massively. It doesn't look the same. Yeah, when he played against us just a few weeks back, many can say that it's probably due to injury, but it didn't look the same, and he didn't have the same impact in the second leg. I thought he was actually going to grab the game by the scruff of the neck and really do something, but he didn't. And I'm not falling for this sentiment, man. I want to look forward now. I want Chelsea to look forward to the future and build for the future, as opposed to bringing someone like Eden Hazard. And God knows how many years are we going to get out of him if he's going to be fit or not. He's going to be 31 in January, apparently, the coming January. So I'm not up for sentiments anymore, man. Like, I need this team to look forward. You look at someone like Man City. You look at Pep Guardiola. He was literally crying, letting go of Aguero. He was in tears. You think they wanted to let go of Aguero? No, they didn't. He's still good enough. He's going to Barcelona, by the way, Aguero. He's going to be linking up with Messi. So they know when a thing comes to an end. They know that everything has an expiration date, and they don't hold on to sentiments. They let go. Vincent Kompany. You think he couldn't have played on for a few more seasons? 100% he could have. David Silva. You think he couldn't have played on for a few more seasons? For sure he could have. Yaya Toure, albeit there might have been some issues with Pep Guardiola. So, Kishan, I'll go to you first up, my man. How do you feel about this Eden Hazard news?
I'm on the fence with it as well. Quite similar to you. I get it from both sides, because it fully depends on which version of Hazard you think we're getting. If we could get the version that we had and that we were used to, it's a no-brainer for the price that it says that we're looking at. So it said something around 40-50 million pounds. So for that price, it seems like a bargain. But like you said, he's turning 31 very soon. And then there's no guarantee we are getting the old version that we paid for. It was well known that when he was with us, he wasn't a great trainer. And a lot of people think that eventually that would have taken his toll, and that period is now. So it depends on whether you think maybe Tuchel could use him sparingly, and because he is quite good at sort of so even with Kante and Pulisic, he's quite good at keeping them away from the first team when he thinks they might get injured and stuff like that. But yeah, I think people are going with the sentiment with this one, and I think we should leave it as well.
Yeah, man, it has to be sentiment, man. The whole thing about, it could be a Thiago Silva thing. We've got a couple of comments here. I don't think it's the same thing. Thiago Silva is in still very, very great physical condition. And we need some sort of experience in the back. Now, you can say we need experience up front as well, but up front, it's as I said, we want to look forward, and we've got a really good comment here from Bobby Smokey Signals here. Bobby, thank you for this comment. Where are you looking forward to? I hope you're referring to Jadon Sancho. 100% I am. 100% if that's what we need. But then again, my priority is a striker. I'm thinking we need either a Lukaku, Haaland, or Kane. I don't think we're going to get any of. I don't think we're going to get Haaland or Kane. It's probably Lukaku, and we'll get to that topic soon. But Ameya, what's your thoughts around this particular, Eden Hazard craziness that's been happening over the last 24 hours?
I mean, personally, I wouldn't mind him back as long as it doesn't hamper our other transfer targets. I think that's the most important thing, right? We shouldn't sacrifice signing a DM or a striker for Eden Hazard. That's going to be the main priority for me. I mean, if we get both of them, if we get a striker and a CDM, maybe throw a centre back in as well, and then we still have enough cash left for Hazard. And the Hazard deal as well, I don't want to sign him on a permanent. And I think it was 43 million pounds or something that was quoted in the report. But I wouldn't want to sign him on a permanent deal. I would rather do like a 1-year loan deal, something like what Spurs did with Gareth Bale this season. And it hasn't turned out too poorly. I think Bale has got 16 goals and 3 assists this season. That's pretty good for a lone player who's, not started every game. I mean, it was usually Son and I think Mora on the other side with Kane through the middle and Bale. You used to get the occasional games, and 16 goals and 3 assists is such a good return considering our top scorer in the Premier League is with 7 goals and is a defensive midfielder. So, I mean, Hazard, is he at the level when we sold him 2 years ago? 100% not. But at the same time, does he improve or complement our attack? I definitely think so. And I think he could be the perfect stopgap until like Pulisic or Hudson-Odoi or basically any of our wingers gain some consistency, because most of them, apart from Ziyech, I think Pulisic and Hudson-Odoi and Werner to an extent as well, he's played on the wings at times. None of them are in their prime yet. And that's one of the reasons why I don't quite get the slander. I know we'll get onto the slander stuff later on, but neither of our wingers in the form of Pulisic or Hudson or even Mount for that matter, none of them are in their prime yet, and they're bound to have a few inconsistent games. So you're going to have someone in the prime to bridge that gap until they can explode. And I think Hazard could be the perfect, the perfect stopgap. Can I call him that sort of a player? But I think there is emotional value attached 100%. But at the same time, as long as the transfer doesn't hamper our other transfer targets, I don't see any harm in us signing him. It all depends on the situation, of course, if he actually wants to leave, if any other club comes forward to buy him. But at the end of the window, if Real Madrid have a player on their books who they don't want, then they could allow him to leave on loan. And something like the Sanchez deal to Inter Milan initially, I think United paid a part of his wages and stuff as well. So if we drive a hard bargain, we might be able to see a return. And I personally wouldn't mind it as long as it doesn't hamper our other targets.
Well, here's the thing, right? The way I'm thinking, what is the plan? You say Ameya stopgap, right? I feel like, fine, okay, if it is a stopgap, like this commentary, Baggy, shout out to Baggy TV. Honestly, guys, go out there and subscribe to him. We'll be offering him 1-year contract with an option to extend. I'll go to you, Kishan. Is it just a stopgap? I mean, what is then the plan for players like Haaland, Pulisic, players like Ziyech? I mean, what are we doing? Like, I feel like I don't want to just jump into this whole Eden Hazard situation without having a proper plan, because that's all we've done, previously, just jumping into something that we think it feels right and we need to do it. I once again reiterate, the Thiago Silva situation was not the same one, because our backline was literally lacking massive leadership qualities. Once again, you may say the forward line lacks leadership qualities, but I don't think Hazard is the one that we need as a forward player. I think it's a striker that we need. Do you know what I mean? You give us a Lukaku and then add the players like Werner and Pulisic and Haaland, all of those players, because I feel like we've got a lot of wingers available. Then it's a different team. You have a striker that's going to put away goals along with these people, then it's a different scenario. So I just don't understand how the whole bringing back. And the injury thing worries me a lot, Kishan, because what is to say that he's not going to keep getting injured? Like, can you honestly put your hand on your heart and say, nah, as soon as he comes back to the Premier League, he'll be all fine. He won't be injured again. Can we honestly say that?
You can't say that, because you saw when he was in our league how much he used to get kicked around. It's literally like Jack Grealish, how much he gets kicked around right now. And I think the thing with the 1-year contract with a year on top, I can't really see us signing Hazard if we're putting 45 million out or 50 million to just give him a 1-year contract. Then it only makes sense, like Ameya said, to loan him in for a season, because if you could loan him in for just say around 10 million and then you don't have the extra burden of like having him whilst his value is declining, then I think is a good option. But another thing is his wages are massive as well. I saw what his wages were, and I think they're around 400 grand a week. So it fully depends on if we could knock him down. You probably need him at about halfway or maybe about on 250, and that's quite a drop for someone like him. He could literally just rot on Real Madrid's bench if he wants to. And
look at what Bale has been doing, right? Look at what Gareth Bale has been doing.
Yeah, and like Ameya said, our other targets take priority, because I feel like in that attacking section that we were talking about, Miz, we already have way too many. When you look at the minutes that Ziyech is getting, he's not getting enough minutes anyway. So I think by just bringing in a striker like Lukaku, that automatically knocks back someone. So someone like Kai Havertz has exclusively been playing as a false 9, but he'd go back into like a 10. Yeah. And then you got someone else that has to drop to a bench or whatever. And then on top of that, if you bring in Eden Hazard as well, it knocks someone. We'd have to sell someone. We'd have to bin someone off. So I think the Sancho
There's
thing.
there's
is
no
interesting.
planning. There's no planning, right? Like if you bring Hazard, then how many seasons, honestly speaking, you're going to get out of Hazard? Tell me how many seasons, and
Probably
that too,
max,
his fitness.
Yeah, probably around maximum 2 if you want it at that level. And if you look at the history since he's left us, you can't say he's been at that level. So pretty much since he's left us, he's gone downhill massive. He's got 4 goals for Real Madrid. I know he's been injured, but just say this wasn't Eden Hazard and it was another attacker who was previously. Just say it was Neymar. Would we be saying let's get Neymar with the same injury record?
That's the thing. It's sentiment, bro. It's sentiment.
It is sentiment. It is sentiment. But I get the sentiment side because he's been probably the best player. When you're watching, he was the one that made you get off your seat. So I get it, but his story ended so well that I feel like it doesn't need that extra bit, and we should be looking to someone else like a Sancho.
Exactly, bro. Honestly, you're so spot on, Kishan. I feel like that story ended nice. Like it finished off with a trophy. He wanted to continue on. Yeah, go on, Kishan.
Even that interview where he said, "I think it is a goodbye," is so iconic now. It's a nice ending, and I think that's all it should be. But like Ameya, there is we're just all Chelsea fans, so there's a part of me that if he comes back, I'll fully back it as well. But my rational side is saying he'll probably be injury prone, but if he comes, I'll still fully back it. Don't get me wrong.
Look, I'm not going to be one of those ones if Chelsea does end up doing this that, you know what, boo, Hazard. No, I'll be ecstatic. He was one of my favorite players, during that time of, I think it was after the 2012 Champions League, the famous tweet, I'll be joining the champions. There was some fantastic moments that we've spent together, all of us, with Eden Hazard. So I feel like
if he presses retweet on that tweet on Saturday, he can come. He can come.
Oh my days, ladies and gentlemen. That's something to look. That is something to look forward to. If we win the Champions League, if Eden Hazard retweets that, we are going to be clipping this. And then I'll be all up for it. I'll be like, you know what? Get him. Let's get him. Let's do it. It's good. It's good to get your point of view, boys. We can sit here all day long talking about this, but it is what it is. There are a few other topics that we want to touch about. I think we're a bit 50. All of us are a bit 50-50 about this. There is the nostalgia. There is the sentiment. There is the value as well. But at the same time, what is the future? The Jadon Sancho opportunity as well. Do you go with Sancho? Do we go with Hazard? Sancho is someone that will give you 10 years, do you know what I mean? As opposed to Hazard, who may just give you a couple of more years. So, there is that whole discussion, but we could be all day here, and there's quite a lot of things that we want to talk about. Boys, let's talk about the next one, which is, let's talk about the lack of goals, because it goes hand in hand with this. There was a particular tweet that you shared with us, Kishan, yesterday, saying that it was a 101-year record that we broke. 110 years. And what was the record? Something like a Chelsea player or a player in the top 4.
Yeah, Chelsea are the first team to get into the top 4 for 110 years without having a player to hit double figures.
That's embarrassing, bro. That is embarrassing. Ameya, I'll start with you. I tweeted something maybe 12 hours ago that our last 5 games, which has been some of the most crucial games of the season, some of our attackers have started to play hide and seek during that time. We've had Rudy score, Jorginho score, Chilwell score, Ziyech and Alonso.
Yeah.
These names are not. These are our scorers over the 5 games, the last 5 crucial games. Undoubtedly, we need a striker next season. It looks very, very prominent at the moment that Kane is going to be joining Man City. He's been flirting around with it. He's been talking it up that he wants to play with Kevin De Bruyne. Haaland, there's been news that's been coming out from Simon Johnson saying now that Dortmund has made the Champions League, it doesn't look like he's going to go. That was the icing on the cake. They needed Champions League and he was going to stay for another season. That leaves us Lukaku. And I feel like the whole Lukaku situation. We need to be all over it. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, Lukaku 100% unfinished business. We were talking about Eden Hazard coincidentally before that he has finished his business at Chelsea Football Club. Lukaku unfinished business. I think the way that he left when he missed the goal in, was it the Super Cup, I think, and then he went and killed it at Everton on loan, and then he joined Everton permanently, and then he was so close to joining us back in 2016, or was it, I think, 2017, when Antonio Conte got rid of Diego Costa, and then in the last minute we had to settle for Morata. So he has unfinished business here, undoubtedly, and it would be brilliant if he could come back and finish it, lead us back to glory, be that strong, powerful striker which he is. I think you look at his photos and they're just so iconic. That one photo where he's holding the corner flag like this, I don't know, I just love that photo for some reason. And he's squared up to Zlatan Ibrahimovic. How many players in world football would do that?
Bro. I feel like he's got a similar characteristic like Zlatan. He's got that cockiness about him, Lukaku. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he does. And I think he would be an excellent addition. But I think the reports that I've been reading, it once again depends on Antonio Conte's situation. I think there was some talks about Conte wanting to leave. I think he was going to have a meeting with the board of Inter, I believe, and then going to decide on which direction they see. And if they're aligned, then I think if Conte stays, then I think there's a good chance that Lukaku stays there too. And it's going to be really difficult for us to lure him away, especially if Lukaku's made his mind. I think it's going to be very difficult to lure him away. But 100%, I would love it. One of those three names, like you mentioned, Lewandowski's being thrown into the mix lately as well. And we're seeing some shouts for Danny Ings.
I just can't see that happening, bro.
But no chance.
I can't see that happening, man. I don't know how you leave Bayern Munich.
You don't. There's just reports coming out, and I'm just saying what I've been reading. And
don't shoot the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger.
Don't shoot the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger.
No, fair play.
We have to sign a striker, and that exact profile of a striker is what's needed more than anything.
Yeah, man, I have to agree. The whole Antonio Conte situation, I don't know what this brother's doing every time he goes there, goes to a new league, he wins it straight away, and then he wants to leave. He's like always upset. And I'm pretty sure if he stays, because they made to the Champions League next season, they won the Serie A as well, so they're on a buzz. I don't think he'd want to do business with Chelsea after when he wanted Lukaku at Chelsea. And we ended up getting Morata, and we all know how that sort of ended up. Before we get to Kishan, this super chat, thank you so much, my man, for the super chat, Mr. Pulitos Way. Not saying I do it, but if it at his best, he can chip in goals at his average best. Eden knits balls from deep or midfield better than any of our current players. Look, I'm not going to deny his quality. We all know how amazing Eden Hazard's quality is. It's just the thing, how can we overlook what has happened in the last couple of seasons in terms of his injury? I can't simply put my hand on my heart and say that it's all going to just go away and he's going to become a monster again. The kind of Eden Hazard that left, we have to understand it's not going to be the same one. We've got another super chat here from iTest Merchant. Thank you so much. Get Danny Ings, then Haaland for 62 million next summer. You know what? There is some sort of substance to this, and we need to talk about this. Kishan, let's first talk about the whole Lukaku situation. Your thoughts on Lukaku and all the other sort of links. But Danny Ings as well. I mean, I feel like a little bit of, he doesn't get enough credit in the Premier League with all the goals that he's bangs in season out. He would be a very good backup option. I don't think he'd lead the line, but if we need a rotational sort of striker up front, if we can't get any of these three in the likes of Kane, Haaland, and Lukaku, if we are letting go of Tammy Abraham and Giroud, which is quite probable at the time being, I think Tammy's leaving, bro. Is not even part of the squad or anything. Danny Ings is not a bad shout, right?
Ings is a brilliant shout. I think he's not even signed a new contract, so he'll only have a year left, and I think he'd be 29. So, like, pretty much at his prime, we could get a really good striker at that price. Yeah. So I'd be all up for that. I know it's not one of the big three, and we wouldn't look at it long term. But if he came in, I still think we could challenge with Danny Ings still. I think we're missing we're just missing a striker, and Danny Ings is good enough. He's like, I know you push Dominic Calvert-Lewin a lot, don't you, Miz? Like, if we don't get it, I think Ings, like, technically is actually quite a bit better than Calvert-Lewin.
Very good.
Like, Ings, if you the thing with Calvert-Lewin, I think he's instinctively really good. If you swing a ball into a box, he'll score with a one touch, almost like a Giroud. But Ings, I think if you give him time, or he can even score outside the box.
Yeah.
Like I was watching Match of the Day yesterday, and he had a goal of the season contender from outside the box. So
really?
Yeah. It wasn't that. It shouldn't have been in that category, to be honest. But he can do a bit of everything. But like that comment says, Haaland next year for 62 million. He don't come to us next year, though. That was the whole thing with getting him this year. That release clause, everyone will activate it. So it's too much of a fight. Like if that was the whole thing with Haaland. If we want him, we go out this year to do it because we do it before the whole competition comes. Next year, I don't think there's much chance of landing him with the Reals and the Barças and. City, I think we'll go for Kane.
It'll be Bayern Munich. Because Lewandowski will go and then they'll take Haaland. I'm pretty sure they'll monopolize that league. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They already have. So
they always do.
Yeah, man, for sure. Let's just quickly read this particular super chat here. Thank you so much, Bobby, for the super chat. Inter have serious financial issues. They may need to sell Lukaku regardless of Conte wants. That is a very good point. They do have massive financial issues. Look, my first preference is Lukaku. I mean, we all want Haaland, but that ain't happening. That's the thing. He's staying.
We want Kane, miss. We want Kane.
You know what? Let's get this straight. We want Harry Kane. That's the one that we want. But I don't think Harry Kane's coming, man. I think that's the issue with Harry Kane. And he looks like he's going to Man City. Man City are going to be so dynamic, man. Unbelievable. That's for another day.
We literally thought we'd get one of the big three, like at some point, but they all seem to have their own issues. Like Kane, we think Levy won't sell to us. Yeah. Then Haaland, they want to keep him for one more season, and they look like they might do it. And then this Lukaku, he has such a strong bond with Conte. And if I was advising him, like as a neutral, I feel like I'd probably tell him to stay at Inter. But there's always that factor that we've got, really. So,
but bro, look, it's like this. The thing about Lukaku is he wants to come back to Chelsea. He's flirted around with the situation in Instagram with Didier Drogba. And he said it in an interview not that long ago, boys. If you remember, he said he actually wanted Chelsea move. He didn't want the Man United move when that was all going down. He just felt that Chelsea didn't want him, enough. That Man United wanted him a lot more. Chelsea didn't show that massive interest at that time. And for me, going back to Ameya, it's not even unfinished business. I rather have players, and we will talk about now transitioning into the DM situation. I rather want players that actually want to play for Chelsea. Do you know what I mean? Like there's been names been thrown around previously about X, Y, and Z, but players like Lukaku, they genuinely want to play for Chelsea. Do you know what I mean? Like someone like Lukaku, Ameya, he's done it everywhere now. Like, do you know what I mean? Like it's not like he's coming to Chelsea as a stepping stone. He wants to finish his career at Chelsea, and he's at his prime. He's 28. I feel like he's at his best physical condition, at his best scoring condition. He is in that particular Drogba kind of mold at the moment. Do you know what I mean? Like we will literally get a Drogba as soon as he comes in. And similarly, now transitioning into the DM position, I completely understand the Declan Rice situation, man. Declan Rice badly wants to come in. I know a lot of people have an issue about Declan Rice, English tax, this and that. Why not get, what's his name? Tchoaumeni or something like that?
Yeah.
Tchoaumeni. I find it so difficult to pronounce. And now Julian Weigl, called as the German Jorginho, which is so funny. Honestly, don't disrespect to Jorginho. He's got a lot of facets that are very important to us. Similarly, Declan Rice has a lot of facets that's very important. Both are very important players, to be honest. And I can both see being in the same team. Maybe not playing together, but as a rotational basis, they can play. And the thing about Declan Rice is he can also play as a centre-back as well. So there's that added, the skill set. So, Mia, what I want to ask you is, would you not rather want players that actually want to play as opposed to players that, I think it's a great financial sort of incentive for me to go to Chelsea, I'm going to get paid well. Whereas you got Lukaku and Declan Rice who actually want to play for the badge.
Yeah, it would make a huge difference. And that's what we've been missing this season from quite a lot of senior players, honestly. I mean, you can see the academy graduates giving it their all every time they're on the pitch. And quite honestly, I don't see so many senior players, especially in the light of our past few games. I see so many players who don't play for the badge, as they call it. I mean, it's not just showing your passion. I mean, it's not just knocking out an opponent player like what Aspilicueta did the other day. It's not about stomping the ground very harshly or whatever. It's not about being aggressive. That's not what we're looking for. I think playing for the badge, it's something. You look at Reece James. Would you say he plays for the badge? Does he throw tantrums? Absolutely not. They're not, correlated to each other. You don't have to throw tantrums and be aggressive to show that you're playing for the badge. You can prove it while you're on the pitch. And many of our players are lacking it at the moment. And like you mentioned, Lukaku 100% would come here and fight for the badge. Yeah, that's it. Passion and desire.
That's too funny, bro.
Yeah, it always gets me. But yeah, I think Lukaku and Rice are two players who definitely want to play for Chelsea. I think Tchoaumeni is the issue is I think a lot of teams are courting him, so he hasn't come out and outspokenly, said that.
The thing about that Tchoaumeni player, Ameya, is that he's another one of the youngsters. Like, don't get me wrong, supremely talented. I have not watched enough, but a lot of people are saying supremely talented. French Liga, Young Player of the Year award as well. So that's not an easy feat. But I don't want another young up and coming.
How old's Declan Rice, man? How old's Declan Rice?
I think he's 22. He's 22. But he's
23.
So for how many? Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, he's 23.
Oh my
days!
He's
21.
Is he?
Yeah, but even that 21 and 22, 21 and 22. Right. It's like,
I think with the Declan Rice thing, boys, is more the fact that how many seasons he's already played in the Premier League. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's played in the top flight for a very long time already at the age of 22. And he's the captain of West Ham. He's been driving West Ham's rise as well. So that's the factor. But yeah, continue, Amir.
Yeah, no, I think Declan Rice and Lukaku both great targets. The issue is Declan Rice, I think he gets a lot of unwarranted hate simply because he's good friends with Mount. I don't know, do the math.
And the whole Frank Lampard love affair.
I just don't want to get into it. You can see the similarities, right? You don't like Lampard, you don't like Mount, you don't like Rice. I don't know. Quite frankly, he's one of the
package. It's a package.
It is. But quite frankly, I don't know why people laugh at this, but he's genuinely been one of the best defensive midfielders in the Premier League. I mean, quite honestly, right? How many better can you name who have played consistently for a couple of years now? I think he was pretty good the previous season as well. And he drops, I don't want to say masterclass, but he drops a solid game every time he steps onto the pitch, and he never gets dominated. He never gets bodied. So quite frankly, I mean, people keep saying that. I mean, more or less, a lot of accounts, I've seen it as well. They keep mentioning non-footballing abilities for Declan Rice. But at the same time, I can name so many footballing qualities that Declan Rice brings to the table, which a lot of our players don't. And consistency being one of them, despite being, 5 years younger than the players he's probably going to be replacing now if he does sign with us. I definitely think that Declan Rice improves us 100%. And I mean, we need that. So this is another similar sort of point is what I mentioned earlier. It's the profile of the player more than the player. And 100%, like you mentioned, we have a profile in mind. But at the same time, if we can get that profile of the player along with the player who wants to play for Chelsea, that would be the perfect combination. And that's what we get with Rice and Lukaku over other targets.
Exactly right. And Kishan, look, I've been saying that we need something different. I love Jorginho. You guys know I love Jorginho. I love Kovacic as well. I love Kante. But something's missing. Something is missing in there. None of them can be sort of lone DM when sometimes we have switched to a lone DM when matters got very crazy, like yesterday with, Reece James moving into the lone DM position where we were behind. And these sort of situations can happen. And the lone DM situation will allow for more attacking players. Kishan, in your perspective, Julian Weigl is another one that's been touted. I don't want to keep trying out all these different players. I feel like we know something like Declan Rice, and you know me, I'm not one of those guys that beat up the drum on Declan Rice, get him. I'm not one of the Declan Rice lover boys. Do you know what I mean? But I do see immense quality in the player that would be beneficial for us.
I think this season has taught everyone that, because when we were linked to him earlier in the transfer window, a lot of people thought, okay, he's this English guy, he's Mason Mount's friend and Lampard likes him. But this season he's shown to those people that he's really a good player as well. Like he's got this thing where he really wants to improve. When you listen to his interviews, he says stuff like, I'm watching Vieira, I'm watching Yaya Toure, I want to drive with the ball. How often do we have a powerful runner from midfield? And yesterday, I didn't even know. I was watching the West Ham highlights, and he got a goal.
Very good goal.
Yeah. Like,
you know, our midfielders are scuffing that. Our midfielders are scuffing that.
Our midfielders don't even run. Our midfielders would turn back and pass it back to the goalkeeper. Let's be real.
And back to Mendy. Let's start it again.
Yeah. And it go again. So I think he looks like he's there. And I know, like, the comments say passion and desire and stuff like that, but you need that. This is just like, if you don't have that, you'll end up with performances like yesterday, and we've had enough of those. We've literally had Arsenal, Leicester, and Villa in those last 4 or 5 games.
Literally a week and a bit. Literally in a week and a half. Do you know what I mean?
It's like Jorginho and Kovac were really good when Tuchel came in, but I feel like their good game quota is gone now as well. I'm really scared for one of them to start the final on Saturday. I'm really scared.
Bro, if Kante is not fit for the final,
he's 100% going to be. Even if
he's like 40, even if he's 60% fit, I'd say start.
If he has to bring out his walking stick, he still starts, man.
Just pop some pills and chuck him on the pitch.
Honestly, and a lot of people say that, in the Europa game where we played him and then he took so many months to recover. I don't care. This is the Champions League final. You can take as long as you want to recover after.
But get us the Champions League and take 6 months off. Take 6 months
literally.
off.
And Declan Rice can come in then, and you can take your rest. But we 100% need him, and that with the Tchoaumeni stuff and Weigl, I'm not an expert on those leagues, but Weigl went from Dortmund when he was under Tuchel, and then he dropped to Benfica. So surely he can't be that. If we're signing someone from Benfica like that, it's got to be for rotational purposes. I don't really want to see this guy starting.
Unless it's like a Ruben Diaz sort of situation where he went from Benfica to Man City and completely transformed that, that defense over there.
Matic as well, We signed Matic from Benfica and he won us the league twice.
True. But Weigl is not that type of a player, though, right? I haven't seen too much of him. He's not a Matic.
He's not even close.
He's a Jorginho.
He's a Jorginho. He's a German Jorginho.
Tchoaumeni has good reviews. You had Cesc coming out and saying he's really good, but he seems like, from when I'm watching him, really rough around the edges. And people say he could be a 6, 8, or a 10. I don't think we need that. I don't want one of those hybrid players where we 6. We know what we want from that guy.
Exactly.
That's it.
You
don't need no one. Because you might get a situation like Paul Pogba, brilliant player, but what are you like? Where exactly do you utilize
6,
him exactly
8,
best?
10. What are you?
You don't know.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
and that's what they say about. That's what they say about Tchoaumeni's.
I'd done a thread on Tchoaumeni actually quite a while back, and it was like a statistical overview sort of play, and he's not number 10 or any of that sort. I think he's played in a pivot this entire season, and I think he played as a lone DM against PSG, and he dropped an absolute masterclass. I think it was the Coupe de France final, I think. So I think he's sort of like even Declan Rice plays in a pivot, right? He's never played lone DM for West Ham. He always starts either next to Noble or Souček alongside him. It's pretty much the same with Tchoaumeni. He either starts alongside another player in a pivot, or he sometimes plays as a lone DM, or the deepest player in a 4-3-3. He's never, if Monaco play 4-3-3, he's not one of the 8s. He's always the 6. So he's actually pretty stylistically very similar to Rice, I'd say. And if we can't get the Rice deal over the line, if we're priced out of it, then I don't think Tchoaumeni would be too bad an option.
You know what? That's the biggest thing, being priced out. I think West Ham are in a situation. We saw some comments here today in this live chat. First of all, shout out to the live chat. Honestly, we've got over 50 people. Thank you so much for tuning in. Smash the like button while you're at it if you're enjoying this Chelsea news segment. The boys are going to be here once a week, and we're going to be doing it in the off season as well. So it's going to be quite fun. There'll be a lot of news to talk about. So smash the like button. The thing that Ameya, you said, is the being priced out situation. West Ham are in the Europa League, I believe, or they maybe in the Europa League. I'm not sure. Leicester's, I think, in the Europa League.
They are.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, I can't see how West Ham lets go of that kind of player for cheap. Do you know what I mean? But then there's the whole thing about Tammy Abraham being given to them and player plus cash to sweeten the deal. So maybe that could happen. Boys, let's transition into the next part of this news, which moves nicely off the back of this. Jorginho has been getting a lot of death threats over the last 24 hours, off the back of our performance against Aston Villa. And I have to talk about this. I really do. I'll go to you, Ameya, first up. I don't understand sometimes, and this is why I really get irritated about Twitter. I don't try and spend too much time there. I do my tweets, I get out of there, I talk to you boys in the DMs, I talk to my close people on DMs and whatnot, because it can get a very, very foul sort of environment. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't have a proper discussion. Like, over here, all of us, we can have a good discussion about Jorginho, we can have a good discussion about Declan Rice, we can have a good discussion about X, Y, and Z. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no animosity here. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'll listen to what you have to say, Kishan will listen to what I have, and so on and so forth. Jorginho, let's be honest, he's a very good player. He may be pigeonholed to a particular style. He doesn't get suited for every style, but there still is a very good player in him. Under Thomas Tuchel, he's looked very good. Under Frank Lampard, he didn't look very good at all. There are certain games where he's dropped an absolute disaster, right? But then there are certain games where he was monster. Real Madrid first leg, monster. Porto second leg, monster. When times got tough in those situations, he stood up big time. And there's been other games as well. And yeah, as I said, he's dropped disaster classes as well against West Brom, especially. In recent times, and a lot of the team members haven't been playing well, not just Jorginho. I can't believe that the fan base goes out. And there's two fan bases, and we'll talk about both of them. You've got one fan base that wants to absolutely disrespect Mason Mount with all the stuff that he's done this season. Yes, he can be criticized. Mason Mount 100% can be criticized, but he's done so much good as well that shouldn't be overlooked. And similarly with Jorginho, 100% he can be criticized, but let's not forget the fact that he's a very good player. I just hate how sometimes people talk up Declan Rice so much, and they want to talk down on Jorginho, and they forget the fact that they're both very good. There's a lot of things that Declan Rice can't do that Jorginho can, and there's a lot of things that Jorginho can't do that Declan Rice can. How do you feel when you see these sort of rubbish stuff on social media? Death threats on Jorginho, do you know what I mean? Like, that's insane.
Yeah, it's very shocking to see, but the worst part, it's that I'm not surprised. That's the worst part. It's because it's happened before. It's happened to Kepa as well so many times. So honestly, I don't get the Jorginho hate. I mean, I know it's linked to Sarri. I think a lot of fans wanted Sarri out.
It is linked to Sarri. It's linked to Sarri.
Yeah. And I mean, his stands don't help his case either, quite honestly. But at the same time, I don't know why he gets so much unnecessary hate. I mean, if I'm being honest, don't crucify me for this. He wasn't even that bad against Aston Villa. I mean, I've seen Jorginho play worse, and it's not even like he was the root cause of all our problems. I think the team as a whole let us down, right, in that Aston Villa game. And I just don't get it personally, but like you mentioned, the two sections of the fan base, right? And one section gets so loud every time we lose. It's like we're not allowed to lose, Can't we just accept that for once the opposition has outclassed us? Why does it have to be our mistake every time? We can appreciate the way Aston Villa put their bodies on the line, and they've defended so many shots. Of course, they got lucky, and of course, we should have scored a couple of chances. I'm not saying that we should have, that we didn't deserve it at all. But at the same time, you've got to understand that there are sometimes 50-50s, and sometimes the other team just gets it and you don't. It clicks for them, it doesn't for you. So I quite honestly don't get that. His passing range is pretty decent. I feel the main concept of Jorginho, like you mentioned, he's a limited player, but what he does exceptionally well. But what he doesn't can be exploited very easily by the opposition, which is why we don't see the complete best of Jorginho. At the same time, I don't know what we can do at this point. I just think we have to accept it as it is and hope that Jorginho one day can leave the club in peace, and then we can be free from all this nonsense. But I mean, that's all we can wish, because it's not going to go away, and we have to condemn abuse.
Yeah, man, you're right. It's not going to go away. I'm actually at the same point as you, Ameya, in the sense that this is not fair on the player. Maybe the best thing is to probably leave. But kudos to Jorginho. He's stuck around so long, and he's mentioned it in a lot of the interviews that, he sees all of this stuff. He really does. He sees us in social media, how much hate he gets. but he carries on. He's an utter professional. Thomas Tuchel has said that. Frank Lampard has said that. This particular super chat, I test merchant, thank you so much, my man. J5's range of passing ain't even good, bad defensive. Look, there are times where I have seen bad passing from Jorginho, but there are some times where I've seen absolutely masterclass of performance in passing. And there are instances where I feel like he's missed out on assists. He's missed out on quite a few assists because our forwards, as we've mentioned already, can't finish those opportunities. He's put those, if you remember, Porto, that half turn from Mason Mount, that ball that went through the middle, straight to Mason Mount, that was Jorginho. And he's done that quite a few times. Kishan, how do you, I mean, obviously, all of this abuse is utter nonsense, but surely deep down somewhere you kind of feel like that's not fair on one of our players, and especially when you keep comparing him with Declan Rice, who's not even our player as yet. That's just not on. As you can still like Declan, but at the same time appreciate Jorginho as well for what he does, right?
Miz, we did a whole show on abuse, didn't we? So,
yeah.
like,
never got aired, unfortunately. Yeah,
but. Yeah, like that's never okay. And you're telling a player to kill himself a week before a Champions League final. Like he's gonna be playing in that final, most likely. How can you tell him he's your player? You're gonna be supporting him there. So it's just it just don't make sense to me at all. But putting that aside, like the performance from him was bad, and like you say with the whole thing comparing him to Rice. I'm more lenient with that because I kind of get that. Like, you know, when one player does really bad, it's natural that someone will bring in a player that they want and start comparing them. Similarly, if Tammy Abraham played for us and he didn't do well, he didn't hold up the ball well, I would be thinking, I might not necessarily type it out or whatever, but I would be thinking, oh, if we had Lukaku, let's go and get Lukaku. We'll do this, we'll do that. So in that sense, I don't see it as that much of a problem. But the thing with him is he does get a lot of direct abuse where it's like, even when he seems to play well with us, I think we're more, if he plays well, we'll give him praise. If he plays rubbish, we'll say he played rubbish. Like yesterday, he was utter rubbish, giving that penalty away and whatever. Yeah. But there were performances, like you said, and someone put this in the comment, most of them have been European performances. Even in the FA Cup against Man City, in the league against Liverpool, league against Tottenham, he's done brilliantly. So it's like it's not limited to that. But he blows hot and cold. We can't he is.
We can't lie about that. We really can't.
When you're finishing top 4, and he seems like a really Arsenal kind of player, if you get what I'm saying. Like he could be absolutely brilliant sometimes. Yeah, literally, he could be so good sometimes, and then you just know once he's played about 7-8 good games, or maybe even
there's
5-6 good games,
there's one mega bad one.
There's one, but the thing is, Miz, it's not even one mega bad one. It becomes like a period, and he sort of finds it a bit difficult to get out of. And I think he's in that right now. So but like I said again, don't ask him to kill himself. That's never the right thing to say.
No, for sure, man. iTest Merchant here, another super chat. Thank you, my man, for always supporting the channel. Thank you to everyone that's been providing the super chats and supporting this channel. Honestly, it's been immense support that you guys show. 3 times now, J5 and Kova have been disposed, leading to a goal. I have to agree. Yesterday, before Aston Villa actually scored the goal, McGinn took the ball from Kovacic and went straight on.
They were complaining for foul. The annoying thing is, Cover gets nicked and he's saying it's a foul. You got Tuchel saying, "Oh, my player got fouled." It gets annoying because you've been robbed so clearly. We were just lucky
first of all, it was a hospital pass from Jorginho. Shouldn't have passed it to Kovacic, who's getting marked by literally 2 or 3 Aston Villa players. Yeah. And then McGinn does fantastically well to nick it off Kovacic. He did not get fouled. He literally got robbed. Do you know what I mean? Got treated like a baby.
If that's the other way around and that's Jorginho, I think he passes it back straight one touch to someone in that cover position. Cover generally sits on the ball a bit, and then he tried to turn out of it.
Does a couple of turns and
then
Boys, I had a very interesting take yesterday in the review from Ryan, Carefree Tactics, as you guys know him. Ryan said sometimes this chemistry could be a bit of an issue. Like it's too much of a chemistry where they see each other and they feel like they have to pass it without understanding that maybe that pass is not on. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like when Jorginho and Kovacic play, they just feel like, oh, that's Jorginho, oh, that's Kovacic, I'll just pass it to him. But they forget the fact that, are you watching that he's being surrounded by people that as soon as the pass comes, he's going to get pressed hard. Kovacic is very press resistant, don't get me wrong, but I felt like that was a hospital pass. And then he got nicked off easily, and that could have led to a goal. Kovacic led in the goal against Leicester the game before for the Premier League. Honestly, there were some dicey moments right at the end when it really shouldn't have been in that case, because Leicester were not even in the game up until then. And then in the FA Cup as well, you know, you can say that Reece James with the off pass, but Jorginho was so far off from Tielemans. It's not even funny that there was no opportunity for him to close down, and he doesn't have the pace. Maybe someone a little bit pacier like a Kante could have closed that down. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, look, as I said, the abuse is definitely not on, man. And we've all mentioned we need something different in the midfield. We definitely need something different in the midfield. And Declan Rice is a very, very good shout, honestly. Chelsea Perspective, thank you so much once again for the super chat. Jorginho's best performance came when paired with another player who is defensively sound. He has the shortcomings, but he's a good player overall. Yeah, look, we've always mentioned, you know, some of his best performances probably come, you can say with Kovacic as well, but that's when we've played in a very possession-based sort of football. But even those instances, we looked a bit off. But again, when he's played with Kante in recent times, especially in the Champions League, we looked very good. But then again, there was a comment saying that maybe the tempo is a bit slower in the Champions League, and that's probably why. Yeah, look, it is a bit strange with Jorginho, but as Kishan said, he may have 5 or 6 good ones, and then there's a period of bad ones coming up, and that's something I can't expect from an experienced player. That's the crazy part. Boys, let's quickly transition into Mason Mount, because here's another one that's, if you abuse Jorginho, well, Mason Mount's going to get the abuse as well now, like to balance things off, which is so ridiculous. I'm seeing a lot of stuff in social media now where people are disrespecting Mason Mount, that, why aren't we criticizing Mason? Timo Werner is missing, Ziyech is missing stuff, Havertz is missing stuff, who else? Pulisic is missing stuff, but we're criticizing those players, but we're not criticizing Mason Mount. Here's my thing, and I'll go to you, Kishan. Mason, what he's done this season, the goal against Liverpool, the goal against Porto, the goal against Real Madrid. For a young player, the amount of time he's stepped up and the qualities that he brings, which is very, very conducive of how we play, which is high intensity, pressing, counter-pressing, winning the ball off opposition higher up and creating havoc up front. He's very, very instrumental to that. You take that particular portion away, and it's a different team. We don't get the same sort of unity when it comes to pressing and that intensity, right?
Intensity, yeah.
So, look, I'm not going to lie. In the last 5 games, Arsenal, Leicester, Aston Villa, and so on and so forth, we haven't been good as a team. Has Mason Mount been one of the problems as well? Yes, he hasn't finished it. He hasn't finished his chances. But I'm not going to sit here and smash Mason when there are other players that are probably not performing at his level at the moment. Do you know what I mean? I will criticize him because he should have finished yesterday against Aston Villa, that chance before Aston Villa went ahead.
Yeah.
100% should have finished that. But I'm not going to sit here and absolutely beat the drum that this guy needs to be dropped. It's insane to say that. He's done too much of a madness for us so far this season. What's your thoughts on the whole Mason Mount getting disrespected?
The reason why I like Mason Mount so much is even when the rest of the team is having a bad game, he's always at least an energy output. Like in Lampard's last game where we lost 2-0 to Leicester, he was the only one that tries. But another thing that annoys me is just people always just think that, because he tries, he's in. No. Like when he's on the ball as well, I still think yesterday people were talking that he did really poor. I think he was the one that still looked like he could get us back in the game. That long shot that he had, nearly went in as well. And we constantly say our players don't shoot enough. So when he tries and he comes quite close, fair enough. Like you said, he should have put that one away, left foot. And that's something that I wish he improves on with his finishing. But I think when you look at his hunger to improve, and you spoke to his dad as well, he's gonna do it as well. This guy is gonna be And like we said, when we talk about desire and stuff, when you're losing 2-0 and 2-1, he's someone that you want on your team because you know he cares about Chelsea.
Yeah. He doesn't put his head down. He doesn't put his head down. Do you know what I mean?
When you're losing 2-0 or whatever, I don't care if you get on the ball and you try and do something and it don't work out because you're trying to do something.
Mm-hmm.
We have other players who hide, other players who can't control the ball properly and can't score. And we're saying this about Mason Mount, who actually does try. It wasn't his best game by far, but you will always get a certain level of performance because he's got that mentality in him that you can't knock.
100% agree. 100% agree. Yeah, go on, Kishan.
And literally, like, for me, still to this day in the Champions League, he still be the first name on that team sheet.
Undoubtedly, Thomas Tuchel will do that. Do you know what I mean? Thomas Tuchel has been backing this player. He's already mentioned that he's a complete package. So, Ameya, what's your thoughts when you see these sort of rubbish stuff? Because it's getting circulated again in football Twitter, and I'm not engaging too much because I feel like then you're going to get all of these idiots that are going to come at you and they're going to quote you and they're going to try and make you look like an idiot as well. And I don't want to engage in that. And that's why I wanted to bring it up in this channel because I feel like we can have a good conversation. How do you feel when you see these sort of disrespect, man? Do you feel like, oh my days, like this is unbelievable?
It is unbelievable. And I don't know what they're trying to achieve. The section of the fan base that generally abuses. When they see Jorginho abuse, they spew out Mount abuse. Like, how's that going to help? I have no idea, but okay, man. That's the part I don't get. Like, if you're seeing Jorginho abuse, call it out, right? And don't abuse Mount. If you're seeing abuse on a player, call it out. Don't abuse another player so that the player
I'll just balance things up. It's insane, bro.
I genuinely don't get it. And Mount is the last player you should be. I mean, if I ask you, right, any Chelsea fan in the world, if not even Chelsea fan, in fact, the opposition fans respect Mount so much more than our own fan base does.
Yeah,
literally,
yeah.
Exactly. Like if I were to ask you one person who's going to score a screamer in the Champions League final, Mount. That's the only name that comes to your mind. Do you say Pulisic? Do you say
Rudiger is getting close lately.
Reece.
Fair enough. Yeah, Reece, Mount, exactly. Exactly. And Mount, like, I don't get the abuse, quite honestly. 22-year-old, been our most consistent player, right? I mean, he's literally carried us at times this season. That Fulham game as well, but towards the end of Lampard's reign, Fulham were down to 10 men at 19th at the table. And we should have been smashing them, quite honestly. But then I think by then Lampard had pretty much already lost a part of the dressing room. And Mount scored that all crucial goal, which gave us the 3 points in that game. So I just get the passion and desire. I know that it's a joke. I know we've been saying that as a joke, but we need it. We need some players to have that, and Mount has that. And quite honestly, Mount criticism sometimes, I mean, not sometimes. I mean, it is warranted at times, not going to lie, but he's 22. He's not the finished product.
Like yesterday, criticism warrants. He should be finishing. He should be finishing.
There was a period in time where criticism was warranted. You know, when he was playing on the wing and he wasn't bringing that much as a winger. But I think now he's got to a consistent level of, even when his bad performances are there, he's already so much better than everyone else on the pitch that they're not warranted at all. Like, I wasn't someone who had thought he would get to that level as well. So I'd come out and say, like, I didn't think he'd get there, but he's
such a young age. At such a young age, do you know what I mean?
Manipulating his body and even using his body against Leicester. He's got that. You see this with Harry Kane a lot, where he just gets his body in the right place and throws foul. And you can see that slowly creeping up into Mason Mount's game as well. So over the next few years, he's going to be massive for us. All the people on Twitter that don't like it can keep not liking it. Because like you say, I feel like he's someone he'll read this stuff and he'll just go the opposite way. As well.
100%, man. He's probably been one of the most consistent attacking player for us this season. Has he had poor performances? Sure. But there are other players that have had many poor performances. Whereas Mason, I don't think you can name like maybe even 5 poor performances. You can probably name 2, maybe max 3. But there are other players where you can probably name quite a few poor performances. And the thing about Mason is, as I said, he's young and he's only going to get better and better. Last season where he was, this season where he is, next season, I've got no doubt he'll get even better. There's so many assists that he's missed out this season as well. You know, his assist count should have been a lot more. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, his goal counts should have been a lot more, but it's still, we need to say some key goals that he scored this season. So it's unbelievable, honestly. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll wrap things up here because I've got another stream that I'm moving into soon. And before that, I've got to pray as well. It's morning time here. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for supporting. Smash the like button. Get me to at least 50 likes. We've got over, at one stage, we had over 60 people. So if you've enjoyed this Chelsea news segment, smash the like button. And we are going to be here once a week, Sunday, generally 11:30 UK AM time is when we are going to be here, unless there are other sort of things. But the natural time for this show is Sunday, 11:30 AM UK time. So do tune in on that. This is now going to be the weekly show. We will have a proper artwork for this very soon next season, different sort of styles and whatnot. But I think the chemistry with us three is working real well, and you guys are enjoying it. I can see it on the views as well, which is fantastic. So guys, thank you so much for the support all the time. And I will have my panelists and their socials in the description after this show. So do go and follow them. If you do want it straight away, go check out some of the previous videos, which is in the YouTube channel at the moment. Amir's got a channel on YouTube. Go and subscribe to him, please. And Kishan, as you can see, is such a well-articulated person with a slight bit of humor thrown in here and there. So if you want to follow him as well on Twitter. So yeah, guys, until next time, everyone, take care. I will see you guys tomorrow. We will have a stream tomorrow, UK time, I believe, 5 p.m. with Simon Phillips and Dan McCarthy. The Chelsea Newsboys will be here. So we will talk with them, which is going to be very interesting to see what the boys have to say leading up to the Man City game. So yeah, until next time, everyone, take care and see ya.